everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we are doing a currently reading check-in to chat about what I've been reading recently. I thought I'd do one of these now because I'm a little behind in my videos, or more behind than I was before. So I haven't talked to y'all in a while, so I thought I'd tell you what I've been up to reading-wise recently. And I'm about to film some other videos to hopefully catch up with my videos. So I thought I'd sit down and just chat about what I've been up to reading-wise. So let's start with what I have most recently finished. The last book that I read was Stalking Darkness by Lynn Flewelling. This is the second book in the Night Runner series, where we're following these like two gentlemen spies, Alec and Sergal, as they use their skills to defend the country and the world from nefarious things. And this one I listened to as an audiobook, and this series so far, this is only the second book in the series that I've read. Overall, I tend to have pretty like neutral feelings about the book so far. I don't have very strong feelings one way or the other. I like the main characters in this, and I think that this one had a more cohesive plot, but also it did some specific things in this book that I more like particularly didn't like, which I'll talk more about in like my wrap up for the month. But yeah, I ended up with just kind of very feelings about this book. Then for what I am currently reading, I have 3 books that I'm currently reading right now. 2 of them are probably gonna have to roll over into May. I had been meaning to finish all of them before the end of the month, but this last week, I just had some stuff going on that I was very stressed about, and when I'm very stressed, I don't read, and so I just am like behind in my reading also, and I just like, I'm not going to be finishing them before the end of the month. I have one that I will finish because it's very short, which is Illumination by Tyler Knott Gregson. So this is a poetry collection of his that just came out, and so I'm definitely going to be able to finish this before the end of the month, even though I'm filming this, what day is it? It's the 29th when I'm filming this, so I have like today and tomorrow, but it's poetry, so it's really quick, and also I only have this much left of it, so this one will be done before the end of the month. The other books that I'm reading are going to roll over. So the physical book that I'm reading right now is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So I feel like, you know, you probably know what this is. It is a adult high fantasy standalone that is quite chunky. It's 800 pages, and you know, it takes place in this world with dragons and warring religious factions, and they're on the brink of like an ancient evil coming back to take over the world. And so far with this book, I have been enjoying it. I feel like I've been enjoying it about as much as I expected, but not as much as I had hoped, which I know is a very vague description of my feelings and probably doesn't tell you a whole lot, but that's how I feel. At this point, I am about 350 pages into it, so I have read this much so far. I'm almost halfway through. And it has picked up. The first section I was kind of struggling with. I just like wasn't that interested in, and it did, you know, get better eventually. I had heard that after the first like 200 pages it picks up, and I think that's true. But for me, like, there are 4 perspectives in this, and I only care about 2 of them. I only really care about Eid and Tane. I feel very neutral and kind of bored with Loth's perspective, and the other guy, is his name like Nicolas Roos or something like that, the alchemist? Like, I have 0 amounts of caring about his perspective. Every time I get to one of his chapters, I just sit there just wishing it would be over and wishing I could just skip it. I hope his character turns out to be like really important and highly relevant to the story, because if it's not, then I don't understand why his character is part of this story, because at this point his perspective feels fairly irrelevant and he's super boring. So I'm hoping that his character will at least become more relevant and I'll understand why his perspective was necessary, because I just really don't care. So I think that's part of it, is that even though I have gotten more into the book and the plot as I've gone on, and I think it's a really interesting world and I like the contrast of like the different religions and religious interpretations of the same like historical event and all of this, I only care about half of the perspectives in this, and I'm just like struggling a little bit. So I'm hoping to finish this pretty early in May though, because I have some other things, some other big books that I want to get to in May. And then the other book that I am reading right now is my audiobook, which is The Book of M by Peng Shepherd. This is like speculative apocalyptic fiction, I guess. So it's set in the United States. There is a plague that has been going around in which people's shadows disappear, and then when your shadow disappears, your memories start to disappear as well. And this has already been going on for like I think 4 years or something at this point. So they're already like a little ways into this kind of plague apocalypse and like loss of memory. I'm not very far into the book yet. I'm only about like 5% into the audiobook at this point, I think. So I don't totally know what's going on, but it seems like we're going to be following multiple perspectives and seeing how different people have been surviving during this. But also apparently there have been a lot of rumors about some kind of like salvation for people in New Orleans, and there are like different rumors about what it is, but I think the characters that we're following are going to make their way towards New Orleans and maybe their stories will kind of intersect there. That's what I've gathered so far about this. But yeah, so far I am liking it. I've been wanting to read this one for a while, and Jade from Bedtime Bookworm recommended it to me on a video where I talked about how memory is a theme in books that I really enjoy, and I've seen her talk about this book and how much she really liked it, so that's made me really interested in it. So I'm glad to like finally be, you know, getting around to reading the Book of M. And yeah, as I said, so far I'm not very far into it, but I am enjoying it. For some reason, it like didn't click in my brain until I started reading it that it was about a plague. And so I'm not sure how that's going to go for me, because I have generally been avoiding like plague books during this time. But I think that this one is different enough and kind of speculative enough, because it's like shadows disappearing, so that it won't, you know, bother me. So I think I'm going to keep reading it, and I've been liking it so far. So those are the books that I am currently reading. Then as for what I'm going to read next, my next physical book is going to be Kushiel's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey. This is the second book in the Phaedra trilogy, which is set in her like Kushiel world. I read the first book a couple months ago and liked it. I did a whole like review for the first book. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below. I'm going to be buddy reading this with Chris because we buddy read the first book together. And yeah, this is like a alternate history fantasy, and we are following a main character who has been trained from a young age as a spy and a courtesan, and you know, she has gotten kind of wrapped up into the politics of this world. The first book was very like politics and world building heavy. I have heard, I think, that the rest of the series is a little bit less heavy on the politics and world building, so we'll see if that's true. I don't know. But I remember also I really loved the writing in the first book, so I'm really interested to read this second one. So this is my next physical read. Then I'm not really sure what my next audiobook is going to be. I guess it kind of depends what my mood is, but I have a couple of options, so I'll just tell you about all of them. The first one is, I think, called The Masquerade at Lodi by Lois McMaster-Bujold. This is, I think, the most recent novella in her Penric and Desdemona series, which is a series of novellas that I have been reading for a while and I really enjoy. It's about this kind of scholar sorcerer who is possessed by a chaos demon, but like they're buddies, you know, they're friends. And it just is like, it's a world that I like, and they're very fun characters. And this audiobook just recently came out, I think a couple of months ago, so I want to catch up with that audiobook. I don't actually know what the plot of this one is because at this point, like, I think this is the 8th book in the series, so it doesn't really matter to me what the plot is. Like, I'm this far into the series, I enjoy them pretty much every time, so I'm just gonna read it and find out. But this will be a really quick read because it's a novella, so it's only like a 4-hour audiobook or something like that. So that one I want to read soon. I also have some books that I had already started and I want to continue. So first up is Fox Mask by Juliet Marillier. I think I talked about this maybe in another currently reading video, I don't really know. But this is the second book in her Light Isles duology, which I am rereading. I had started the audiobook earlier in April and I actually really like the audiobook, and I got, how far into this? About 100 pages into this, and I was really liking it, but then I ended up reading some other things during the month that were kind of similar to this in like setting or tone, and like I like to read multiple books at once, but if they're too similar then I get confused, and so I put this one down so that I could read some other books, so that I wouldn't get too confused. So I do want to come back to this one soon. The other book that I am thinking of listening to and continuing is The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. So I started this a while ago, like a couple months ago, reading it physically, and how far into this one did I get? I got like 115 pages into it. I got about there. And I was definitely enjoying it, and I liked the writing. It was very vivid. It's a really interesting world. There's just something about the pacing of it that wasn't working for me. And I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't in the mood for it and the pacing wasn't like working for me, so I put it down. I didn't DNF it because I totally planned to come back to it, but I did put it down and I would love to finish it, but I want to try the audiobook because I found out I can get the audiobook on Scribd, and I wonder if that will help me out because a lot of times pacing issues, I just like don't notice them as much in an audiobook as I would in a physical book. So I want to try the audiobook for this one because I was enjoying a lot of things about this, so I would like to finish this soon. So those are all of the books that I am currently reading and what I think I'm going to be reading next. Let me know what you all have been reading. I'd love to chat with you guys about it in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!